their language, favoring unambiguous statements over, say, subtle hints or really indirect suggestions. Internally, this directness is often seen as a sign of honesty, transparency. But yeah, this very directness can be perceived as a little blunt, maybe abrupt, or even impolite by people from cultures with more indirect or high-context communication styles, places where preserving harmony or reading between the lines is more the norm.
That's a crucial distinction. And our sources draw a fascinating connection here, suggesting this communication style might actually link back to those historical imperatives we talked about: liberty, self-reliance.
Indeed, that connection is pretty compelling when you think about it. Imagine those early settlers, the colonizers, the pioneers, forging new lives, building communities.
Right, under tough conditions.
Exactly. They were building, negotiating, surviving, often in really challenging environments where time and resources were scarce. There just wasn't much room for ambiguity or, elaborate pleasantries.
No time for small talk.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
Clear, straightforward communication was essential for practical problem solving, for coordinating efforts, for just ensuring survival. And this practical necessity over generations, it reinforced a communication style that valued explicit, unambiguous statements.
Get it done.
Get it done. So for you, the listener, understanding that this directness is generally not meant to be rude, but is more of a functional, historically rooted cultural norm, that can really enhance cross-cultural interactions. It helps bridge that gap.
That makes a lot of sense. Framing it as efficiency rather than impoliteness. Okay, while we're on these cultural norms, let's talk about personal space. I've definitely heard Americans typically prefer a little bit of distance in social interactions. What's a good rule of thumb there?
You're absolutely right. Personal space, or proxemics as it's sometimes called, is a pretty significant aspect of nonverbal communication in American culture. Americans generally prefer to maintain a bit more physical distance when interacting compared to some other cultures.
Why is that?
It often signals respect for individuality, for autonomy, maintaining that personal bubble. A good starting point, a generally safe bet, would be to aim for about an arm's length away from someone during a typical conversation.
Okay, arm's length. Got it.
But, and this is important to remember, this can vary. It depends on the specific situation. You might stand closer in a crowded bar or on a subway, obviously.
Yeah.
And it definitely depends on the relationship between the individuals. Close friends or family will naturally stand closer than, say, casual acquaintances or professional contacts.
Right. Context matters.
Exactly. So just being mindful of these unwritten rules about personal space is pretty crucial for comfortable and respectful social engagement.
Yeah.
It helps avoid making someone feel unintentionally uncomfortable or, like their space is being invaded.
Okay. Arm's length as a starting point. Good to know. And now, for what can often feel like a true cultural minefield, tipping. This is something I know many people unfamiliar with American norms find incredibly confusing. Why is it so important here, and why is it so prevalent compared to many other parts of the world?
Tipping. Yeah, it's definitely a source of confusion. What's fascinating and kind of crucial to understand is that tipping in America isn't just an optional thank you for good service. It's, as one source puts it, deeply embedded in the service industry as a fundamental part of how many workers get paid.
Right, it's part of their wage structure.
It's exactly. Historically, tipping became widespread in the U.S., partly as a legacy of, some complex post-Civil War labor practices, and also borrowing from European aristocratic traditions, ironically. But today, many service workers, especially in hospitality, like servers, bartenders, hairstylists, hotel staffs, they're paid a lower base hourly wage. Sometimes it's even below the federal minimum wage for non-tipped workers.
Wow.
Yeah, it's based on the explicit expectation that tips will make up the bulk of their actual living wage. So it's literally built into the system. It makes it more of a societal expectation, almost an obligation, rather than just a bonus for exceptional service.
That really clarifies why it feels so vital, almost mandatory sometimes. So it's not just about rewarding good service, it's about ensuring someone can actually make ends meet.
That's a huge part of it, yes.
But the complexity, as you mentioned, comes from knowing who to tip, how much to tip, because it seems to vary so much depending on the service.
Exactly. The nuances can be absolutely bewildering if you're not used to it. You tip restaurant servers, usually 15–20%, sometimes more. You tip bartenders, taxi drivers, delivery drivers. But you generally don't tip, say, fast food counter staff or flight attendants.
Right.
And the percentages vary too. Hairstylists, hotel housekeeping, It's a whole system. This is actually where that travel guide you provided becomes incredibly useful.
Oh, good.
Yeah, it apparently breaks down all the different tipping amounts and situations for various services. It offers a really concrete, practical guide to navigate this often confusing aspect of American social commerce. It's complex, for sure, but understanding its roots and function helps demystify it quite a bit.
That's a huge help. Okay, let's shift gears a bit. Let's talk about something truly global in its reach. American popular culture. I mean, American music, movies, TV shows, they're just consumed everywhere, right? It's a kind of global entertainment phenomenon. So what are some of the most iconic elements that are distinctly American, and how did they get such widespread influence?
Yeah, it's hard to overstate the global impact, truly. American music, for instance, has had such a profound, transformative influence on popular music worldwide. Just think about iconic genres like jazz, born from African-American communities in New Orleans, right? With its improvisation, its syncopated rhythms, it changed everything. Or the raw storytelling and emotional depth of the blues, which then heavily influenced the emergence of rock and roll in the mid-20th century.
Which exploded globally.
Absolutely exploded globally,
Right.
inspired bands from the British invasion onwards, countless others. And more recently, think about hip-hop. It's become this dominant cultural force, originating in the Bronx, but spreading subcultures, fashion, lyrical innovation across every continent.
Yeah.
Even country music, with its narratives of everyday life in Americana, finds these surprising, dedicated global audiences. As our sources describe it, American music often has this incredible energy and a real ability to blend different cultural influences. That makes it incredibly adaptable and somehow universally appealing.
Absolutely, you can hear that energy, that fusion reverberating in so many music scenes around the world.
What about movies and TV shows? Hollywood, especially, feels like this unparalleled powerhouse, doesn't it?
It truly is. Hollywood has, for better or for worse, become the dominant force in global entertainment. It wields immense narrative power. American movies and TV shows, they're exported everywhere. And they often reflect, and sometimes maybe magnify, American values, anxieties, dreams, from those epic blockbusters that champion individual heroism and maybe manifest destiny, to sitcoms exploring family dynamics, to intense dramas grappling with social justice issues. These narratives are consumed by billions.
Right.
Now, while these portrayals are, as the source says, sometimes a little exaggerated for dramatic effect.
Often exaggerated. Often, yeah. They still offer a window, maybe a stylized one, but a window nonetheless into American life. So for you, the listener, it's really important to consider how these pervasive narratives can significantly shape international perceptions of American life and culture. They act as both a kind of mirror for America's internal struggles and a powerful cultural ambassador, for better or worse.
That's a great point. Popular culture definitely exports a particular vision of America, whether it's accurate or not. Okay, now let's talk about something truly delicious and I think equally reflective of culture. American food. Beyond the usual stereotypes, burgers, fries, apple pie, what makes American cuisine unique? And how does it connect to these broader cultural themes we've been discussing?
Yeah, you're right to move beyond those stereotypes, even though they are delicious. One of your sources offers a particularly insightful perspective, arguing that American cuisine functions as a kind of culinary time capsule.
Ooh, I like that. Culinary time capsule.
Isn't that great? It beautifully and, palpably reflects the various waves of immigration, the cultural exchange, the innovation that have shaped the nation over centuries. In essence, American food is this direct, delicious parallel to the broader melting pot nature of American culture itself. It's constantly absorbing, adapting, and transforming influences from literally every corner of the globe.
That's a fantastic analogy. So what specific flavors and dishes are we talking about here that really illustrate this rich tapestry? Give us some tasty examples.
Okay, well, we're talking about an incredible diversity of regional specialties, right?
Yeah.
Each with its own unique history and flavor profile. Think about Southern barbecue, for instance, which isn't just one thing. It's this vast tradition with distinct regional styles. You've got the vinegar-based sauces of North Carolina, the smoky brisket of Texas, each reflecting local ingredients, historical influences.
Making me hungry already.
Right. Or think of the creamy, comforting New England clam chowder, a real staple of the coastal regions that speaks to early colonial diets. Then there's the vibrant, spicy fusion of Tex-Mex cuisine, a perfect blend of Mexican culinary traditions and American ingredients, especially strong along the border states. Or the unique, complex flavors of Cajun food from Louisiana, that delicious mix of French, African, and Spanish influences. And crucially, our sources really emphasize the huge impact of immigrant communities in adding so many layers of flavor and diversity to American food. It's truly astonishing when you think about it.
Yeah.
German immigrants, they popularized hot dogs and hamburgers, now totally quintessential American fare, right?
Hmm.
Italian immigrants gave us pizza and pasta in countless regional forms. Mexican immigrants introduced tacos, burritos, tamales, which are beloved across the nation now. Waves of Asian immigrants brought Chinese, Vietnamese, Thai, Korean cuisines, each finding its place, evolving into unique American-style dishes sometimes.
It really is a melting pot on a plate.
Exactly. It provides this wonderfully tangible and yet delicious insight into America's dynamic cultural evolution. Food, in this context, it isn't just sustenance. It's like a living history lesson, constantly being written and rewritten with every new arrival, every new adaptation. It's delicious history.
That really reinforces a key point we've kind of circled back to throughout this deep dive. American culture just isn't a monolith. It's not one single thing at all.
Exactly. It isn't.
Mm.
And perhaps that's its most defining characteristic, ironically. It's truly this rich tapestry characterized by significant regional differences.
Mhm.
The fast-paced ambition of the Northeast, the relaxed hospitality of the South, the innovative spirit of the West Coast, the pragmatic heartland of the Midwest. Each has its own distinct nuances. And beyond geography, there's just immense ethnic and racial diversity, right? With each group bringing unique traditions, languages, perspectives.
Yeah.
Add to that varying generational perspectives, different social classes, and you have this incredible complex interplay. All these diverse elements are collectively contributing to this bigger picture, making it inherently multifaceted and far, far more complex than any single stereotype could ever capture. It's a constant interplay of distinct identities, sometimes harmonious, sometimes clashing, but always contributing to a richer, more complicated whole.
So how does all of this incredible complexity ultimately come together? How do we understand this rich, evolving tapestry? Is there a unifying thread, or is that asking too much?
That's a good question. I think the unifying thread, as our sources effectively argue, is actually its inherent dynamism. American culture is described as dynamic and constantly evolving.
Right, the change itself.
Exactly. It's aptly likened to a tapestry that is not static, but rather fluid, messy, and always adapting to changing times. It's never a finished product. It's always in process, continually being shaped by internal forces like social movements, demographic shifts, and also external influences from global events, technological advancement.
Welcome to The Deep Dive, the show where we take your curiosity, your stack of sources, and our collective brain power to really untangle some fascinating topics.
Yeah, absolutely.
Today we're embarking on an exploration of, well, a truly immense and often elusive subject, understanding American culture.
It really is huge.
It's just such a rich landscape, isn't it? Full of layers, celebrated ideals, intriguing contradictions, too. And we know you're keen to peel back those layers to really grasp its essence.
That's right. And American culture, as your diverse sources really show, that you've got historical analyses, sociological reports, even travel guides, and literary critiques in there. It's just this incredibly complex tapestry, woven from countless threads. And trying to grasp it all at once can feel, well, pretty overwhelming. So our mission here is basically to be your expert guides through all this material.
Right.
We'll distill the most important nuggets, the key insights, provide a clear, structured understanding, and hopefully reveal some, genuinely surprising facts along the way.
Think of it as a shortcut, right?
Exactly. Your shortcut to being well-informed without feeling completely swamped.
Perfect. And our aim for this deep dive is really to give you those aha moments, where things just click into place.
Yeah, connecting the dots.
Connecting the dots between history, values, everyday life. We want to make this incredibly multifaceted subject not just understandable, but genuinely relatable and engaging.
Definitely.
So let's not waste any more time. Let's jump straight in. Laying the groundwork first, looking at the historical roots of American identity.
Sounds good. Where do we start?
Well, when we talk about American identity, you really have to go back to the beginning, right? To those early settlements. Our sources, especially the historical ones, they really hammer home the influence of the Puritans. It's fascinating how those foundational values still seem to resonate today.
Absolutely. The colonial era, and specifically that Puritan influence, it truly laid down some bedrock values that have proved incredibly enduring. We're talking about a profound emphasis on hard work, which wasn't just, a practical thing for survival in a tough new land. It was deeply ingrained as a moral imperative, almost a sign of spiritual grace, echoing that Calvinist work ethic.
Wow, okay. So work is a moral duty.
Pretty much. Then there was education, seen as absolutely paramount, not just for individual enlightenment, but crucially for societal progress. And, for people to properly understand Scripture and participate in their community.
Right, building that city upon a hill idea.
Exactly. And of course, religious devotion. This wasn't just a private thing back then. It deeply shaped community life, governance, those moral codes. They really did envision themselves as a moral example to the world.
Okay, so these are just like dry historical footnotes collecting dust somewhere. The sources suggest these early ideals still subtly but powerfully influence modern American society. How do we actually see that playing out today, centuries later? Give us some concrete examples.
Yeah, we can draw some remarkably clear lines, actually.
Yeah.
Think about the ubiquitous work ethic.
Yeah.
That sort of relentless drive for achievement, for productivity, often involving long hours, right? It characterizes so many industries from Wall Street to Silicon Valley. And it's often implicitly, or sometimes even explicitly, linked to personal virtue and success. It's just there.
Still baked in.
Yeah.
Hmm?
And we also see the enduring value placed on schooling and lifelong learning, that constant push for academic excellence, the belief in education as the primary path to upward mobility. It's huge.
Okay.
And furthermore, traditions of philanthropy, giving back to the community, establishing charitable foundations, supporting public institutions. All of that echoes those foundational ideals of communal responsibility and betterment, even if it's often more secularized now. So understanding these historical underpinnings, it really provides crucial context for current American behaviors and beliefs. It helps us kind of decipher the why behind some persistent tendencies we still see today.
Yeah, it's not just what Americans do, but maybe why they feel driven to do it.
Precisely. It gives you that deeper layer.
That's incredibly insightful. How something from centuries ago can still cast such a long shadow. Okay, moving forward in time. We absolutely cannot talk about American culture without diving into the American Revolution. Our sources frame it as more than just, a political event. They call it a profound cultural earthquake. What did that cultural shift really entail?
It really was a seismic shift. I mean, the revolution wasn't just about kicking out the British. It was about forging a whole new identity based on a set of ideas that were pretty radical at the time. It deeply embedded concepts like freedom, a really powerful yearning for liberation from perceived oppression, whether that was political or personal.
Right.
And this was coupled with an intense focus on liberty, understood as personal autonomy, the right to make choices about your own life, your own destiny.
That individual control.
Exactly. And critically, it cemented the ideal of democracy, the right to self-governance, where power comes from the consent of the governed. These weren't just abstract political ideas, they became almost sacred tenets of American identity.
Wow, sacred tenets.
Yeah, they shaped the national narrative, the collective psyche, for centuries. They really formed the bedrock of what it meant, and often still means, to be an American.
And speaking of those tenets, our sources specifically mention Thomas Jefferson and his emphasis on individual liberty. That wasn't just an abstract principle either, was it? It feels like a direct driver for something we still talk about constantly. The frontier spirit and that relentless push for westward expansion.
Precisely. Yeah, this is where the ideas really start to mesh together. Jefferson's vision, a nation of independent, self-reliant farmers, free from the old constraints of European aristocracy, able to shape their own destinies that directly fueled the belief that the expansive land to the west offered just boundless opportunity.
Land of opportunity.
Exactly. It became the engine of the frontier spirit. And the figures we associate with this era, the pioneers, the cowboys, the homesteaders, the settlers, moving across this vast continent, they really embody this rugged individualism. They were determined to literally carve one's own path out of the wilderness, right? To build communities from scratch, often with minimal government help, relying on their own grit, their own ingenuity.
Right.
And this whole narrative, which is celebrated in countless stories, it really champions personal achievement, self-reliance, and the pursuit of happiness through individual effort. It gives us a really profound insight into the deep historical roots of modern American individualism, that powerful belief that you can make something of yourself through sheer will and hard work.
Okay, so on one hand, we've got this fierce, almost sacred individualism, this belief in forging your own destiny, which feels so distinctly American. But our sources also highlight this inherent tension, an ongoing one. This fierce individualism sometimes clashes pretty sharply with another equally strong American ideal, equality,
Yeah.
creates a constant push and pull, doesn't it?
It's a fundamental paradox, really, right at the heart of the American experience.
Individualism, in its purest form, emphasizes personal freedom, property rights, minimal interference, which can sometimes lead to huge disparities in outcomes.
Right.
Equality, on the other hand, calls for fairness, equal opportunity, and sometimes, a collective responsibility to maybe level the playing field or ensure some kind of social safety net. And this tension, it has absolutely manifested throughout American history, from the very early debates about who even qualified for liberty and equality. I mean, think about the original compromises over slavery, or the long struggles for voting rights for women and minorities.
Yeah, huge struggles. It propelled major movements like the Civil Rights Movement, demanding that the promise of equality actually extend to all citizens. And today, you see this tension playing out constantly in ongoing discussions about everything from healthcare access and wealth redistribution to taxation, gun control, even just the role of government in individual lives.
It's everywhere.
It really is. So for you, trying to understand contemporary American political and social debates, recognizing this persistent dichotomy, this push and pull, is just crucial. It's not a solved problem. It's a living, evolving dynamic, always there.
That's a really important point. It's not static history, it's a live wire. Okay, and speaking of powerful ideals that are still very much alive, we absolutely have to talk about the American dream. It's such an ingrained concept, almost mythical, isn't it?
Yeah.
What exactly is the core idea there, and how does it connect back to these historical values we've just been mapping out?
Right, the American dream. At its very core, it's that foundational belief that basically anyone, no matter their background, their starting point, can achieve success and prosperity through hard work, determination, and initiative.
Upward mobility.
Exactly. It's an aspirational ideal promising that upward social mobility, a better life. And it links directly back to those values of self-reliance, individual liberty, and opportunity that came out of the Puritan work ethic and that whole frontier spirit. It just holds this immense emotional resonance, promising that if you apply yourself, you can build a stable, comfortable life, maybe own a home, provide for your family, achieve your personal goals. It's all about possibility, right? A kind of blank slate where your past doesn't have to dictate your future.
That's the powerful, idealized vision. And it certainly attracted millions to America over generations, no doubt. But our sources also make it very clear that the practical reality of the American dream is, and I quote, far more nuanced than that idealized version. It's not always a straightforward path, is it?
Oh, far from it. The sociologists you mentioned in your sources, they make a really astute point. The definition of the American dream itself is constantly shifting. It reflects these profound societal and economic changes.
How so?
Well, that traditional image, the house with the picket fence, the secure job for life, 2 cars in the driveway that's increasingly out of reach for a lot of people. Economic shifts, for instance, have just dramatically altered the landscape.
Yeah.
We've seen a decline in manufacturing jobs, the rise of the gig economy, which offers much less security, significant wage stagnation for many working-class families.
Student debt.
Oh, absolutely. The burden of student loan debt has become immense, often delaying home ownership, delaying family formation for younger generations. These factors directly impact social mobility. They just make it harder for people to climb that economic ladder compared to maybe previous generations.
So it's not just about individual effort anymore. These external forces are really shaping what's even possible.
Yeah.
What are the implications of this shifting reality for people in America today? How does it feel on the ground?
Exactly.
Yeah.
The idealized narrative often kind of downplays those systemic barriers or structural inequalities.
Yeah.
And evolving societal values also play a part, right? For some people now, success might mean work-life balance or finding purpose, maybe more than just pure material wealth.
Yeah.
Well, for others, simply achieving basic financial stability is the dream. It's gotten more fundamental.
A shifting goalpost.
Yeah. So this nuanced reality means that individuals in America today have incredibly varied interpretations and experiences of the American dream. For some, it might still feel attainable, hopeful. For others, it feels like an elusive myth, something just out of reach. And this disparity, it leads to significant social discourse, political debates, individual anxieties about the future. It's a dynamic concept, constantly being reevaluated against the backdrop of a changing world. It just reminds us that cultural ideals are rarely static things.
That makes perfect sense. These broad societal ideals influence so much. Okay, let's bring it down to the everyday level now. How does all this rich history and these evolving values shape something as fundamental as American communication and social norms? Let's start with that famous American directness. Is that real or just a stereotype we hear?
Oh, certainly more than a stereotype. American communication generally does prioritize clarity, efficiency, and, yeah, getting directly to the point.
Uh-huh.
Americans tend to be quite explicit in that. And this ever-changing nature, our sources conclude, is precisely what makes it so fascinating to explore. It's a living, breathing entity that just defies simple categorization and invites continuous re-examination. It's a culture, in many ways, defined by change itself.
I completely agree. This conversation has really highlighted just how many layers there are to unpack. And when we talk about change and dynamism, we absolutely cannot ignore the profound impact of technology and innovation. The United States has such a history and an ongoing reputation for leadership in technological advancement, doesn't it?
Without a doubt, yeah, the United States has been a global leader in fostering technological advancement and innovation for well over a century now. And this leadership isn't accidental.
Right.
It seems deeply tied to that American spirit we were touching on, inventiveness, entrepreneurship, a belief in progress.
Mm-hmm.
And this consistent drive for innovation has, as the sources say, had a huge influence on how Americans live, work, and interact. It's fundamentally reshaped daily life over and over again.
Oh, absolutely. When you stop and think about it, it's truly transformative. We're talking about inventions that literally changed the world, many originating here.
Indeed. Just consider the profound impact of inventions like the telephone. Revolutionized communication, shrank distances instantly. Or the automobile reshaped urban planning, fostered suburbanization, gave individuals this unprecedented freedom of movement, deeply embedding car culture into the American psyche.
Right.
More recently, the rise of the internet fundamentally altered access to information, commerce, global connectivity, I mean, everything.
Changed everything.
Yeah. And the subsequent explosion of social media has not only transformed how Americans interact with each other in the world, but also how they consume news, form communities, engage in political discourse.
Mm-hmm.
It's still unfolding. Our sources clearly state that American culture is deeply intertwined with a core spirit of innovation and the pursuit of technological progress. This inherent drive to push boundaries, to create new solutions, to constantly look forward, it's a defining characteristic, often seen as a practical manifestation of that can-do attitude we talked about.
And it really makes you wonder about the future, doesn't it? What does this relentless pace of technological change mean for American culture moving forward? In this, rapidly evolving digital world, how might it continue to shape identity, community, core values?
That's a truly fascinating question. And yeah, provocative. The digital horizon presents both immense opportunities and, let's be honest, significant challenges for American culture.
Like what?
Well, for instance, how might individual identity continue to evolve in an age of online personas, virtual realities?
Yeah.
What does community even mean when interactions are increasingly mediated by screens? They can lead to amazing global connections, sure, but also maybe social fragmentation or those infamous echo chambers.
Mm-hmm.
And how might fundamental values like privacy, authenticity, even the very concepts of truth, how might those be reevaluated in a world just awash with digital information and now increasingly sophisticated AI? These are areas of constant reevaluation and adaptation for American society right now. It really hints at a future that will undoubtedly be just as dynamic, just as messy as its past.
Yeah.
Which actually brings to mind another crucial institution, one that often reflects and shapes these evolving values, the American education system.
Uh-huh. Okay, so how does the American education system fit into this larger picture of American culture and its ongoing evolution? What's its role?
Well, education is, as the sources stress, incredibly valued in American culture. And that goes way back right to those Puritan roots we discussed at the start.
Yeah.
There's this strong, pervasive belief in its power to open doors, create opportunities for individuals, to serve as a primary engine of social mobility and personal empowerment.
The pathway up.
Exactly.
Yeah.
The U.S. has a long, deeply ingrained tradition of public education, from kindergarten right through university level, theoretically designed to be accessible to all citizens. And within this vast system, there's a constant push to improve and innovate, always striving to better prepare students for whatever the future holds.
Mm-hmm.
It's seen not just as a pathway for individual advancement, but as vital for maintaining a strong democracy and, competitive economy on the world stage.
So it's clearly about more than just, say, vocational training or getting a specific job credential then. I'm curious, what are some of the broader values or goals that the American education system aims to instill in students, beyond just memorizing facts or rote learning?
Yeah, it's definitely aiming for more than just rote learning or acquiring technical skills.
Mm.
While practical knowledge is important, of course, our sources detail a really strong and explicit focus on developing broader, more adaptable capabilities, such as a significant emphasis on cultivating critical thinking, encouraging students to question, to analyze, to form their own informed opinions, not just accept things passively. Problem-solving abilities are honed through practical applications, projects, teamwork. Creativity is fostered across disciplines, not just in arts programs, but also in innovative approaches within STEM fields. And adaptability is seen as paramount, given how rapidly the world changes.
Preparing for the unknown.
Exactly. The ultimate goal, as outlined in the sources, is to equip students with the tools they need to navigate a world that's constantly changing, thereby fostering well-rounded individuals who can contribute meaningfully and thoughtfully to society. This includes cultivating a diverse range of talents, not only in the highly visible STEM fields, but also recognizing the importance of the humanities, the arts, the social sciences, for a truly holistic understanding of the world.
So it really is about embracing different points of view, fostering that innovation we keep talking about, and continuously pushing boundaries within the culture. That seems to be a really recurring theme in our entire conversation, doesn't it? It keeps coming back.
It absolutely is, yeah. These educational goals connect directly back to those broader American values we've discussed all along, the drive for progress, the appreciation, at least ideally, for diverse perspectives, the belief in individual potential, and the fundamentally dynamic nature of the culture itself. Education is often seen as the primary engine that keeps these values alive, continually reinterpreting them and ensuring their evolution for future generations. It's a kind of cultural mirror, reflecting what Americans value most, or aspire to value, for their future.
This has been an incredibly thorough exploration, really fascinating. We've touched on so many facets of American culture. The history, core values, communication styles, pop culture, food, tech, education. But before we wrap things up, I have one final, maybe the most elusive question. We often hear people talk about the American spirit. What does that intangible essence actually mean? Is it real? And how does it manifest in everyday life and in the stories Americans tell about themselves?
The American spirit. Yeah, that's arguably the toughest one to really define, isn't it? Our sources acknowledge it's a tough one to really define. Hard to put your finger on. Yet it's described as this undeniable energy that just permeates American history and culture. It's often described as this unique, powerful mix of things. Optimism, a fundamental belief in progress and a better future, even when things look bleak. Resilience, that capacity to bounce back from adversity, from setbacks, a pervasive can-do attitude, a belief that challenges, no matter how big, can be overcome through ingenuity, through effort, and a deep fundamental belief in the power of individuals to shape their own destiny and affect change.
Right.
You hear it encapsulated in those iconic phrases, right? Like, anything is possible if you just work hard enough, or never give up. And that classic, though sometimes controversial, image of pulling yourself up by your bootstraps, which really emphasizes that self-reliance, sometimes to an extreme.
That's it, isn't it? That self-reliance, that sheer determination, a willingness to face challenges head-on, sometimes against all odds. Where do we see the spirit come to life? Not just in abstract ideals, but in concrete examples, in the stories Americans tell.
Yeah, you see it in countless, often very powerful, real-world examples and narratives. Think of the compelling stories of immigrants who arrive in America, maybe with very little, facing huge language barriers, cultural differences. Yet through sheer perseverance and incredibly hard work, they build amazing new lives for themselves, for their families, and in doing so, contribute profoundly to the fabric of society. Or consider the countless entrepreneurs. You know, the classic story of starting companies in their garages, fueled by an idea and this unwavering belief that they can innovate and succeed, often against really long odds, sometimes leading to global businesses that change the world. Even just the everyday courage of ordinary people facing tough personal situations or community crises, natural disasters, economic downturns, responding with incredible grit and this collective determination to rebuild and move forward. That embodies this spirit too. It's this deep belief in human potential, really. The capacity to overcome almost any obstacle if you just apply your mind and your effort to it. And this American spirit, it's also a recurring, really potent theme in American storytelling.
How so?
Well, from classic novels like F. Scott Fitzgerald's The Great Gatsby, which captures both the allure and maybe the eventual disillusionment of reinvention and the pursuit of a better life, to modern films like The Pursuit of Happiness, which powerfully illustrates the perseverance of an individual overcoming just immense hardship through sheer will and determination. These stories, they reinforce and perpetuate those core traits of the American spirit.
And it's fascinating, too, to think about how that narrative itself has evolved. Because it's not a static concept, is it? The definition of the American spirit itself must have had to adapt as the American experience became more diverse, more complex over time.
Absolutely not static.
Yeah.
The American spirit is not some fixed monument to the past. It has been continually shaped and reshaped by so many different groups of people and different historical events. Think about the civil rights movement profoundly expanding the definition of freedom and who it applied to. Women's suffrage movements, the ongoing fight for LGBTQ+ rights. Each of these movements challenged and enriched what it means to be American, what possibility truly entails for everyone.
Right.
So its profound relevance today lies precisely in its continuous redefinition, its ability, hopefully, to embrace innovation, to demonstrate adaptability in the face of new challenges, and to draw upon that deep resilience that has always been at the heart of the American experience rather than just, clinging to a romanticized past. It is an ongoing journey of self-discovery and collective identity, perpetually in motion, still figuring itself out.
Wow, this has been an extraordinary journey, truly. We've embarked on a really deep dive into the heart of American culture, and we've covered an immense amount of ground.
We really have.
From its foundational historical roots and those core values, to the everyday realities of communication styles, the global reach of its popular culture, the delicious diversity of its food, the transformative power of technology and education, and finally, that elusive but powerful American spirit. What's become abundantly clear, I think, is that American culture is definitely not a singular, fixed entity. It is dynamic, it's multifaceted, and it is always, always evolving.
Precisely. And for you, our listener, we really hope this deep dive has provided a solid foundation for understanding, maybe sparked even more curiosity, and offered a significant amount of clarity on what can indeed be a truly complex and captivating subject. And it's a culture really defined by its capacity for change and reinvention.
So as American culture continues its dynamic evolution, constantly shaped by all these diverse influences and rapid technological change, maybe consider this. How might that core American spirit of individualism and reinvention be called upon to adapt and solve truly global, collective challenges in the coming decades? Challenges that go beyond purely personal success. How might that celebrated can-do attitude shift from just my success to our collective advancement in what is now a profoundly interconnected world? It's a powerful thought to maybe ponder as you continue your own exploration. Thank you so much for joining us on this deep dive.
It's been an absolute pleasure. Thanks for digging in with us.